I'm Gaël Blondelle. I'm managing the European activities of the Eclipse Foundation, and I'm VP Ecosystem Development at the Eclipse Foundation. Thanks to my colleague Sharon Corbett, our manager of intellectual property, who was instrumental in preparing this presentation. Let's jump into what we do at the Eclipse Foundation in terms of IP management. Since the inception of the Eclipse Foundation in 2004, IP management is really one of our core services. Our main goal is to allow adopters to use source code downloaded from the Eclipse servers in their commercial context, including in their products. That relies on a rigorous due diligence process that checks both project code written by committers and contributors, as well as third-party libraries. And of course, this process involves several legal documents, including the IP policy and several legal agreements for committers, etc. I will not describe that in details now, but you should know that it's well documented and that you can access all the documentation on the Eclipse servers and wiki. What I want to discuss more is that in the last 12 months, we have improved our process to make it more agile and to still focus on the risks induced by bad open source compliance. But the point is that previously we could not support agile development processes because the full due diligence process was too lengthy to give an answer to the developers, and they had to go through this full due diligence process before they got in order to get the green light to use a third-party library, for example. So we were, to some extent, a blocker in their workflow. Now we have a more lightweight and automated process, and also we allow faster project velocity, and everybody is happy that we managed to reduce all the administrative stuff. How does it work? So first, the point here is the focus on third-party libraries. And in terms of third-party libraries, we want to check the compliance, the license compliance of those third-party libraries. So we have identified a whitelist of licenses that can be safely integrated in Eclipse projects. And this list has been approved by the Eclipse Board of Directors. And we provide to projects the capability to self-validate their IP during their development process. And so they can include new third-party in their development, and they don't need to go through the IP process to do that. But when they want to do a formal release, then they need to go through a full IP clearance process. So that really, we are not in the middle of the development process, but we put the focus on the release, because that's when we know that projects will create artifacts that will be redistributed by adopters. So that's when it's more important to check IP. Also, something new is that in addition to our IPzilla database, I'll come back to that, we use more sources of licensing information, and that's what's described on this slide. So IPzilla, first, that's our own database with more than 20,000 records. That started back in 2004, and that contains the whole history of third-party dependencies analysis from the beginning. But in addition to this database, we also use Clearly Defined, which is an OSI initiative. So Clearly Defined works by collecting license information from different means like Maven, NPM, etc. And using a curation process with crowdsourcing to make sure that this data can be trusted. And the Eclipse Foundation is a proud contributor to Clearly Defined, especially in the context of the curation process. In order to apply those source of informations, we created a specific command line interface tool that is available on GitHub under the Eclipse public license. And what this tool does is that in input, it takes a description of your dependency graph, typically the output of Maven dependency plugin, and it will check for each dependency. It will check the license information available in IPzilla, available in Clearly Defined, and in this case, we accept only when the score is more than 75. And if the dependency license is part of the whitelist approved by the board of directors. And if everything is okay, then that's okay. The compliance has been checked automatically, and in some cases can be checked fully automatically. If there is some unresolved license information or some of the dependencies come with a restricted usage, which is defined in our rules, like, okay, this component has a dependency, as a license that you cannot use it in case of redistribution, but for example, you can use it for testing. So if this is the case, then the Eclipse IP team will go through the list and check it. And in their due diligence tasks, they use some tools like scan code and fossology, and that's typically when they use Clearly Defined or contribute to Clearly Defined. So just to conclude on this topic, I will say that there are some best practices in terms of open source project management, and license compliance is mandatory. That's really something that must be at the core, a core concern for open source project leaders. And from our perception, that's really a collaboration between the Eclipse Foundation staff and the Eclipse project committers. What you need to do in order to manage that is you need to know your bill of material. So you need to create your bill of material to identify all the dependencies, and also to maintain this bill of material. And also you need to document license information. So using SPDX, using license headers, copyright and license headers, using copyright and license files in repositories. Finally, I mentioned Clearly Defined several times. We all believe at the Eclipse Foundation that it's a great initiative because that makes the world more trustable for the greater open source community in terms of licensing information. You know where to find it, and you know the level of trust you can expect. As a conclusion, I would like to say that, yes, open source compliance is one of our core services and one of our duties at the Eclipse Foundation, but we also host some interesting projects related to open source compliance. I would like to mention SW360, which provides a 360 vision around your software and provides the capabilities to manage a catalog of your own projects with your bill of material and the licenses, and to identify license compliance issues. SW360 Antenna, which puts it in the continuous integration toolchain so that the developers know sooner rather than later if they introduce some issues in terms of compliance in the process. So Eclipse Software 360 was started by Siemens, and Bosch is now one of the contributors. And Software 360 Antenna was started by Bosch. And the last project is Eclipse Steady from SAP, which has a focus on open source software vulnerabilities. So it will tell you in all your dependencies which one are known to bring you some security vulnerabilities. And in addition to that, it will also tell you how to fix those vulnerabilities, because they identify which commit fixed the security issue. So they can tell you that if you move to the next version, then it should solve the issue. So that's 3 interesting projects you can try. And thank you for listening. I think that open source governance is a key component of open source adoption. That's a topic on which we are proud of what we do to support our projects at the Eclipse Foundation. And that's also a topic about which we think that we need to collaborate with other foundations. And especially OW2 created the open source governance initiative some time ago. And OW2Con is now an important meeting of the open source governance community. So that's why I wanted to support this year edition and to be here for this talk. Thank you.